American outlaw, gang leader, thief, bank robber, train robber, and murderer. From the state of Missouri, Jesse James was known as the most famous member of the James Younger gang. Today, I want to inform you on the life of Jesse James through his uprise to becoming the world's greatest thief. Jesse James is one of history's most well-known criminals. He was a vicious, ruthless man and led a long life of crime. James was born September 5, 1847 in Kearney, Missouri. His father was a Baptist minister and his mother was Zeralda James. Throughout James's life, he had several father figures, but little guidance from his own father. His father had traveled to California during the gold rush to minister to the miners and had died when James was only 3 years old. His mother had remarried twice by the time James was 8 years old. He had 2 stepbrothers, 2 stepsisters, and 2 natural brothers. According to Wikipedia, James was portrayed as a kind of Robin Hood, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. Unfortunately, there is no evidence that he and his gang used their robbery gains for anyone but themselves. James wanted to join the rebels because, for much of his teen life, he was too young to join when he first became interested. But by 1862, he had joined Quantrill's Raiders. During his involvement with them, he fought at Centralia Massacre in 1864. Soon after this, James formed his own gang, called the James Younger Gang. The gang consisted of people that wanted to get money the easy American way, by robbing banks and trains. Their very first bank robbery attempt failed and had many casualties. The robbery was at Liberty, Missouri in February of 1866. There were several banks after this that were great successes. Jesse James was the mastermind behind all of these successful plans. He always knew the layout very well and knew how to scare people when he was robbing them. J.W. Wicker was in search for James and his band for much of James's career. Once he was hot on his trail, he was murdered. No one knows for sure who did it, but people speculated that it was part of James's pack. After a 9-year courtship with his cousin Zeralda, they were married in April of 1875. Together they had 2 children, Mary and Jesse. One of the greatest downfalls of James's gang was the robbery in Northfield, Missouri. It was a bad robbery with little planning and many deaths, involving both town people and involving both town member and as well as gang members. The town and surrounding towns were both terrified and very angry. They formed a pack with hundreds of people to go after them. Only 2 members of the gang were caught, however, and they were indefinitely put in prison. After a few more robberies, Jesse James was killed. He was betrayed by a member of his own gang, Bob Ford, for the reward money. James was climbing on a chair to clean a dusty picture when Bob Ford walked up behind him and shot him in the back of the head. The murder of Jesse James became a national sensation. The moral of the story: choose who your friends are, or it might be the last choice you ever make. Thank you.